All right. Hey, everybody. We're going to get started with our second week of the game of conquering strategies to overcome fears in network marketing. And um, this week was good. I mean, last week was really good. This week was really good. And I got a lots to say, but I'm not going to say too much. Um, because, well, I'm going to say some stuff here. So I basically, and I feel like I say this every time I lead, I basically underlined and highlighted every word in these three chapters. Um, and you know what? So I just want to say, like, I'm sure if I did, I'm sure there's other people who did as well. Um, First of all, last week was about the victim. It was an introduction. It was about what being a victim looks like and what that means and how you can move past that. But now we're in the middle. We're in Survivor. And you hear Survivor and you think, oh, yay, rah, rah, this is good, right? And then you start reading and you're like, ouch, this is not so good. So some of the stuff that I didn't write a ton of notes, but I want to highlight a couple of spots and then give some thoughts. So the bottom of it was kind of a hard start to it on 33. Survivors aren't successful in network marketing. And I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. That sounds scary. What's he going to say? And so then, he goes back like, okay, let's make this clear. Like, you are moving forward, right? Like, we don't want to be victim. You don't want to be stuck in victim. So we're moving and we're making progress, and that's the goal. And there are definitely some good things that being a survivor is. If you go to that last page, it talks about that. It highlights because this is not a very long chapter at all. Like it was super short. But like being able to endure, that's really a good thing, right? Like we should be able to endure. You should be able to endure hardship and work through stuff. Um, you should be committed to doing trainings and learning and growing and personal development. What's not good is when you get stuck there. And what the problem with Survivor is that you're in this place and you start working out of fear instead of and out of not quitting is what he says instead of winning. And you get stuck in this reel of just making excuses is basically what it is. So, I'm survivor. I've survived like I'm doing it, but are you really? Are you really working? Are you really doing? Are you really taking action? And, he makes a really good you know, he talks at the end of 35 about Cindy and how Cindy is talking about like she wasn't effective with her time. She was just surviving. She was doing the least amount possible in income producing activities. She thought she was working, and my guess is that she was doing a lot of fluffy stuff because let's look at this like there's some things that can be looked at as fluff. And I don't think that they're fluff. I mean, I don't want to say like team calls and book clubs and trainings and personal development are fluff. They're not. But those are things that are going to grow you. But what's going to grow your business is that you sit down and you do work and you have to reach out to people and you might have to dig into some fears and you might have to do things that are scary and things that maybe depend on other people saying yes or other people saying no. Um, and that can be hard because that unknown and not knowing where that goes and just working out of um or not working because you're fearing what's going to happen. So Survivor is um basically I'm doing it, but yet you're not. And you're avoiding it because of reasons of fear. And then the hardest part about Survivor is that you're not willing to admit it. You just keep to yourself, again, out of fear because you don't want other people to know that you're struggling. You don't want other people to know. You want it to look like you're doing work. Um, and that's when it can get dangerous because it really puts you on a hamster wheel. So it's not a bad thing to survive the hardships of life. And it talks about this in here too. A survivor recognizes their role and can move beyond their circumstances, but a survivor doesn't always actually do the actions that are going to get them further along and going to help them to succeed. They do just the very bare minimum and think that's good enough. And then wonder why they're not growing, wonder why they're not doing more. And then they start to compare and they get stuck in comparison and then get stuck in just that hamster wheel. And the only way to get out of that is to move on to conqueror. And I just loved that first part of Conqueror where he talks about to rise from survivor to conqueror, you've got to stop feeling sorry for yourself and you've got to take full responsibility. You've got to stop making excuses. You've got to start taking action in the right places in your life and your network marketing business because I promise you, you can make excuses or you can make things happen, but you can't do both. Because no matter what, we've said this many times, whatever you choose, it's still a choice, right? So if you either choose to do it or you choose not to. And we can say this about a lot of different things, but um, the conqueror basically is taking action. And then he gives us a formula and he gives us, he gives us 4 things that basically this is what surrounds having success as a conqueror. And it's the stuff we always talk about, having strong vision. Yep, Jana, not making a choice is also a choice, 100%. So having a strong vision, having an environment and he talks more specifically, but having an environment that is basically supporting your vision, that is going to help you grow, having the discipline to actually do what you need to do every single day, and then making sure that you are actually committed to the habits and the work that you need to do every day and making those habits, not making it just every once in a while, not making it like, oh, I'm just going to do this or I'm just going to do that, but actually doing the work. And even when it's hard, even when people say no, even when you're really busy, even when you don't think you deserve it, even if you aren't even sure if you're going to succeed and you don't even know what's at the end, but you do it anyway. And, honestly, this was actually a huge, I'm going to make sure that I pass this off to have all of you guys share too, but this was really big for me right now because I'm going to be really honest, you guys. I've been stuck in Survivor myself. And I've had some really hard conversations this week, but it was pretty amazing how God just like laid this in my lap. And it's so hard to say that as a diamond because a lot of times people look at diamonds and they think, oh, they've got it all together. They've made it to the top. They know they do all the things. They must work this many hours a day. They must never fear anything, or they must never worry about anything, and they must never get distracted, or they never have any kind of fears or whatever. Like, I'm here to tell you that is not true. And I'm here to tell you by experience that if you don't, you will stay on a hamster wheel if you don't take action. Because truly, that's what happens. And there's so many things, and I don't want to say like there's other areas in my life that I definitely am winning in, and there's things that I'm not winning in, and I don't claim to be perfect, and I hope you guys know that I certainly am not. And I do think I've made sure that that's clear, but I can say for real that I looked at this list on 37 and I was like, oh my goodness. Yeah, some of these things are totally things that I've been struggling with. And what happens and I know what some things that have triggered me to be in this space. But what happens is if you don't talk about it, if you don't reach out and reach up and bring it up, then you will stay stuck. You will stay stuck. And that's been my problem because out of fear and out of embarrassment, um, I have just out of disappointment in myself, I've stayed stuck. And I certainly do my business, but not to the degree of what I should be doing to continue to grow and help my team grow and help me grow because I still have a business. I have an amazing team. I love my team. Um, and they definitely outperform me in so many ways, and I'm so, so grateful. But sometimes leaders get stuck too, and it's okay. And there's, like I said, there's different circumstances that can bring that about. But some of these things like comparing yourself to others, keeping your things hidden, not sharing, seen as strong but may feel weak or unworthy. Oh my stars, that was probably the hardest thing to say to Sal this week was that. And I'm just telling you guys this. I'm not telling you because I don't want to make this about me, but I'm just telling you that I know that some of you have been stuck in the past, and I know that I've walked that road with a lot of you, and I know that and I still have a strong business, and there's definitely things that I'm proud of that I do in my business, but I'm not doing all the things that I should be doing in order to make myself grow. And you guys, what he talked about in here is so true. And it's like when he said that here, like it just clicks, and it's so dumb because like it's so simple, right? Like it's so simple. But when he says take massive action, massive doesn't mean that you have to send out 30 messages on day one. It just means something, right? It means take action, do something, but you have to do the hard thing and you have to do it every single day. That's the discipline, right? That's the habits. There's no way that you will ever move yourself out of any kind of stuck rut if you don't do something. And I can speak to this from in different areas of my life too, just different things that I've struggled with too. It's very easy to just, I mean, let's just take relationships or friendships, for example. Sometimes we can get stuck in thinking that we don't want to be, like, oh, nobody's calling me, then I don't have close friends anymore. And, so I'm not going to reach out. So I'm just going to stay home and I'm not going to do anything. But you know what? You know what gets you some relationships and growth and friendships? It's leaving your house and it's making a call. It's texting a friend saying, do you want to go out for coffee? It's joining the Bible study. It's going to church. It's getting in a book club, a book study. It's taking action to move yourself out of that feeling of being lonely or missing out or whatever. Is you have to create that. Sometimes you have to do that yourself. Not sometimes, all the time. And the thing is we have the power to do that. God put that in us. Like he's created us to do these things, but we have to make the choice. So, you guys, I talked longer, 5 minutes longer than what I wanted to, but I didn't want to, I wanted you to know that when I read this affected me deeply, like deeply, obviously, because I keep choking up, but it's it's hard to admit that as a diamond to a team that sometimes, we look like we've got it all together, but sometimes we get stuck too. So if you're feeling stuck, you're not alone, but I want you to know that I am not going to stay here because I've talked about it and I've told my friend and I've who's also my sponsor and and you know what? I know what I need to do and I'm not going to let this stay here and I'm going to speak the truths that I need to speak to myself. I'm going to do all those things that I've told some of my team members they need to do. I'm going to do those too. And that's really what I want to share as far as that. But I really want to hear what you guys took from this. I really can't wait because I want to work through all of this together because I'm sure that this brought up some stuff and made you maybe think about yourself and just your own journey that you've had in your business so far. So I would love for you guys to unmute and share.
Well, I just want to say how proud I am of you right now. I know that is not easy to share at all. And just yeah, the conversations we've had this week have been just really raw and real for me too, because I'm realizing stuff about myself too, and we all just have things, you guys, we do. And I just keep thinking what a safe place this is that Chris can come and share this, right? And just be vulnerable with everybody and say that, you know what, diamonds suck sometimes and we struggle sometimes and we have things that really just we have to overcome. And and I also hope that gives you hope that anybody can do this. We are not perfect. We all struggle with stuff. And so, Chris, I just commend you. I know that was not easy, and I'm so proud of you. And I told Chris this week too, this is another example of something that we all go through, we're going to go through, and it's going to be really valuable down the road, right? It's going to be so teachable for Chris to be able to help someone through because she's been through it and she knows how to coach then, right? And so it's not for naught. It's not for it's going to be such a good thing. It's hard to see that sometimes when you're in it, but I wanted to address this, and gosh, these chapters were incredible. I am loving this book, absolutely loving it. And I think there's going to be major breakthrough with a lot of you ladies that are committed to this book and on this call, major breakthrough, because how can you not if you read this and put it into action? But the one of the things I really wanted to highlight was the fake working part. Chris touched on that a little bit, and I remember going through this and still do sometimes. And it's basically management mode, you guys. You get in management mode so easy because that is the easy thing. It's easy to help your team. It's easy to troubleshoot. It's easy to get into chats. It's easy, so we go there first. And we put off doing the hard stuff. We put off the fears. We put off reaching out to people, following up with people, getting out in Bible studies, like Chris said, out in the public, talking to people. We put that off because that's hard. That's scary. That's uncomfortable. So we just resort back to the fluffy, easy management mode stuff. And that's fake working. Developing new systems, like they say here, like she was saying, this lady does, Cindy, personal development, team training, studying the compensation plan, all good things, but they're not going to move your business forward. Okay. That is the fluff, and that is all good. I'm not saying don't do that, but you've got to stop fake working. You have to work. And Chris and I just chatted through this too. And we're just like, you know what? We're making it too hard. We're making it too hard, you guys. It is so simple. We reach out to people, we follow up with people, we love on people, we do our posting. That is it. It is so simple. We have to get back to those roots, right? We have to remember that's why we're here to help people and, not get caught up in all the other stuff that distracts us. And so he's spot on because I've lived it, I've felt it, I've done it, I've been here. I am not immune to this. I am not like, an expert, but I do know, what I've been helped and how I've been helped and overcome this sort of thing. And that is exactly what Chris said, is by taking action. You have to take action. You have to keep the main thing, the main thing. You might say you're going to do this. Okay, you're getting off this call tonight and you're going to go. You're going to go do IPA or whatever. But saying it is different than doing it. Okay, you have to follow through and do it. That is what's going to change your business. Okay, I could say so much more, but I want to hear what everybody else has to say too.
I don't know about anybody else, but I had no idea that there was a conqueror level. Like to me, the survivor was winning. And until it was explained to me in here, I was like, like yeah, I I did not connect that before. And I just feel like I can see myself in different areas here too, in the three different areas. And I feel like different parts of our lives were in different areas too, right? But I love how he gives a formula here. the vision plus environment plus discipline plus habits equals success. It gives me something concrete to be like, to sink my teeth in and to be like, oh, okay, I have to work on these things. So I really appreciated what he said there.
It really always comes back down to action. And we talk about that being the solution for a lot of things. If we're stuck in feeling sorry for ourselves, get out, like you said, Chris, get out and get together with someone, make a connection with someone. If we feel like we're in a slump in our business, get on your phone and start messaging people. If we feel like we're in a slump in our marriage, set up a date night. Guilty. And in all those things, it is taking action. And I like how he said, conquerors think thoughts on purpose. Like they don't just let like willy-nilly thoughts come into their brain and stay there. Like they think intentional thoughts and they decide to be a conqueror. It doesn't just happen. Like it's all about intention and discipline. He talks about discipline and how it goes back to training yourself to show up. And I love that. Like, I want to think of myself as I'm a conqueror in training because we're always in training, right? Like, we always, even if we're in conqueror status in different areas of our life, we can't be stagnant or we won't stay a conqueror. So, we're always technically in training. And I love the goals that he set, like in his marriage and with his kids and with his personal development. That was so inspiring to me. And there are areas of my life where I'm like, I'm willy-nilly just going through the motions in some of these areas. And this really shone a light on that to me. And there are other areas where I feel like I'm being more intentional, but I also have noticed that this is my vulnerability. Since I quit my full-time job, it was easier to be less intentional than I was when I had a schedule that was packed and I had to be super intentional. And all of a sudden it was like I've got more time freedom. So instead of making and squeezing the most out of that extra time I have, I got lackadaisical in areas and still am sometimes, where it's like, what are you doing? Like you have all these extra hours in the day. It looks different. I'm still busy, but you have all these extra hours in the day where you used to have those 8 to 9 hours away from home and you got to jewel on that schedule. What are you doing, Shelly? So, yeah, it was tugged at the heartstrings a little bit, and it's good. You guys, like Sal said, let this just rip at you. Like really rip at you to the point where it brings you down a little bit, like knocks you to your knees, because what's going to come on the other side of that is just massive growth and life changes on the other side of that. If you let this really affect you and change your life, what comes on the other side of that is absolutely incredible. And it's hard. It is hard to admit and see these things in ourselves, but also extremely empowering to know that it can change. Like we can change that. And we have the strength of the Lord on our side to do that. So it can change, it can turn around, and massive growth and just abundance is going to come out of this.
Absolutely, Shelley. I think that's the biggest thing. And that is because if you can break things down, because hiding behind all of this is what keeps you stuck. Like now, and I'm not saying that like I'm gonna sit here and like, be upset with Sal every week. Like I can't be like, oh, and it was another bad week. And I'm not doing it like this is the break. Like Sal and I haven't talked about this. Like this has been brewing. And so like what's different here is like I got over myself. That's what's different here is we have to get over it. You have to take personal, you have to admit and then do it. Now, I have to still prove myself with the discipline and the habits, and that takes time, right? Like that's going to take time. And, it takes time to develop habits and the discipline, but I'm going to do it because I don't want to feel poopy about stuff. And I want the massive growth and I know what I need to do, and so, but don't stay in there. Like if this hit home and was a gut punch like it was for me and maybe others here, I don't know. But then, okay, what are you going to do about that? What are you going to do? Are you going to change it? Or are you going to stay there? Because whatever you choose, it's a choice. Then you're choosing it. So if you choose to stay there, and that's with anything and everything. Like, Shelly, I love that you brought up other stuff that you've noticed, like the marriage too, like stuff, it's work. It's work to be a parent. It's work to discipline your kids it's work to pour into your marriage with your husband and spend time together and not get lazy in that. It's work to have friendships. It's work to work. If you work outside of Plexus, like, we have to be intentional with it. And so if you look at like the conqueror mindset on 43, takes full responsibility and doesn't make excuses. Focuses on the income producing activities that's directly related to us, right? Like, because that is, like Sal said, it's do the things, do those things, send messages, follow up with people, take care of your customers. Those three things are going to keep the wheels turning on your business. Actually, it's going to make the needle move forward. So taking massive action, embracing the past and learning from it. It doesn't say embrace the past and then go back to the past. Embrace the past and learn from it and then keep going and grow. Love yourself, your past experiences. It's just that list is so, so good. Commits to growth, sets time aside to work on mindset. And that mindset chapter was amazing.
I didn't order my book right away. I did the audio version, but because it was so good, I'm like, okay, I have to have it down, like the book too, because I can't just do the audio anymore. Our church has church on Thursday nights, and I drive the bus when we go pick up the women from the shelter here in Holland, and I do it once a month. And so tonight was my night to drive the bus, and so I got church tonight instead of, well, I'll get it Sunday too, but it actually it was called Overcoming Defeat was our sermon tonight. And it totally went in line to what I listened to before and after church. And I just wanted to, there's actually 4 parts that I just wanted to quick show from my notes because it totally went with this book. I'm talking about God's prescription to overcome defeat and how we can be conquerors through God. And the first one is rest, eat, and then go. Because we have to rest, but we also have to nourish ourselves and eat and to be ready to go on that journey that He has us for, right? And then we have to replace the devil's lies with God's truth and then listen to the still small voice and then go back to our calling. And that's how we can totally be conquerors in our lives, but also with our business too. Like we just have to go back to the simple things, what we need to do and nourish ourselves with, everything and with our community, right? And, I don't know. It was like God is more interested in helping us through the storm than removing us from the storm was something that the pastor said. And it kind of was like, yep, we're in this journey and, we're going to conquer it, right? So I said, share that.
That is awesome. That's like confirmation number 5 for this. That's seriously, Jana, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Wow.
Oh, and the pastor will preach about it on Sunday. So, and it will be live streamed. So if you wanted to watch it And I did take home like a paper copy. Anybody wants to actually hear him speak the sermon, I can send you the link or tell you what church to, because he'll do it again on Sunday. So, and then that one will be recorded.
Awesome. Thanks, Jana.
Well, I just have one quick thing. At the very end, he talked about how he had changed what had happened with his brother dying and seeing that and having that trauma in the first chapter that we read about. How that circumstance did not change, but he changed and he was a person. He said that was one of the best things that ever happened to me. And when he said that, I was almost shocked, but I understand what he's saying. We will walk through deep waters. We're going to tread some really deep stuff. And we've got to know that we just, in scripture it says, yea, though I walk through the valley of death. I talked to Shelley about this week. It says, yea, though I walk through the shadow of the valley of the shadow of death. It doesn't say I'm going to sit there, I'm going to camp, and I'm going to dwell in it. It says I'm walking through it. And I just think that sometimes our circumstances are making us a person that can relate to somebody in the future that we have no idea who that might be. And the other part that really struck me was the discipline. That discipline isn't something that's going to take something away from you, but it's going to give you everything that you want. And you just have to get out of your way. And I appreciate you so much, Chris. I appreciate your vulnerability and your honesty and I just want to reach through there and give you the biggest hug because you guys have just been so much of a driving force for my heart. And I just can't thank you enough.
Oh, thanks, Gina. Oh, good stuff, you guys. That's so good, Gina. It's so true. Every experience we have is an opportunity to teach other people, right? And I think sometimes it's hard for us to like stay strong, like we know we need to stay strong, but sometimes we just, it's hard, and it's okay to admit that, but like you said, like moving forward, we walk through it. So good.
I want to speak to the word discipline really quick, just because something in my Bible study yesterday totally applied to this. We were talking about how the Lord disciplines his children. And we're studying Revelations, but in the word discipline, sometimes we think of it as like a hard thing or a bad thing, or the stuff that we're going through in life is extremely hard. And we're wondering, why is he allowing this to happen? And it's almost like reframing the word discipline, because the Father, our Lord and our Father, loves us so much and cares for us and our souls so much that he allows us to walk through these things, promising that he will be with us every step of the way, but also so that he can refine us and mold us into the conquerors, into the people that he's training us to be and preparing us for eternity, which is our ultimate goal. And so if we look at that word discipline and we're like, yeah, this is hard, but man, I know this is from the Father and I know what he's doing with this for me in my life, I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to celebrate it and I'm going to work through it. And I know that it's all his goodness and because he loves us. So I just love that reframing of that word too.
That's
I just wanted to share one little thing too before we quit. In chapter 5, where it said, God didn't send you to this earth to fail. nor did he send you to this earth to play small. He didn't send you here to just be average. You have the potential, but potential is talent unrealized. So it's time for us to realize our talents and share it with others because he's given us a gift. And Plexus is a great gift that we've been given.
Amen, Lisa. And that is a really good place to wrap up. Hey, thank you, friends, and thanks for listening and for joining in. I appreciate you guys so much, and I'm just so grateful that, yeah, we get to grow together and we get to, yeah, do this together every week. I'm so excited for the days to come and all that we're going to do. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.